Our Unit 4 and 5 project on Andrew Jackson will be done by Bobby Kirpus and James Stacy. Let's go. Hello there, fellow Americans. This is NBC News with Bobby Kirpus and Jimmy Stacy. Today is March 15th, 2012. On this showing of our news, we are going to have a 30-minute special on Andrew Jackson. Do you know why we're doing this today, Jimmy?
Well, I think that we're doing this today because it's Andrew Jackson's 245th birthday.
That's correct. Without further ado, let's start our presentation.
Andrew Jackson had a very tough life growing up. First, he was born on March 15th, 1767. He was born in the Waxhaw region, which is on the border of North and South Carolina. 3 weeks before his birth, his father died due to an accident. When Andrew was 4, he had to get a job at a saddle maker's shop. Finally, when he was 13 years old, he joined the Continental Army.
This must have been a really hard place to come from to become president of the U.S. in years to come. I also know that he became an orphan at age 14. In 1787, he also taught and studied law in Salisbury, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Also, in 1787, he was admitted to the bar and moved to Jonesboro, North Carolina.
From early life to middle ages, Jackson served in the military. First, Jackson was made commander of the Texas militia in 1801 with the rank of a colonel. Then he was ordered by James Monroe in December 1817 to lead a campaign in Georgia against the Somalia and the Creek Indians.
Jackson was also put on duty to prevent Spanish Florida from becoming a place for runaway slaves. This was also during the First Seminole War. After 2 wars he fought in, it was time for Jackson to become and run for president.
For the 1824 election, the Tennessee legislature nominated Jackson for president in 1822. He was up against Treasury Secretary William H. Crawford for president and Albert Gallatin for vice president. He was also up against the Secretary of State John Quincy Adams. And he was also up against House Speaker Henry Clay for vice president.
Yes, he was. Jackson received the popular votes, the most popular votes actually, but the electoral votes were split up into 4 sections.
Yes.
Because of this, House Representatives have to vote. After their vote, John Quincy Adams became president. Jackson's supporters also thought that the election wasn't fair because Henry Clay voted for his state's support towards Adams.
Yeah. So after the election, many people believed that Jackson was the man of the people because he wanted Americans to be treated properly and fairly.
Jackson once quoted, "I feel in depths of my soul that is the highest, most sacred, and most irreversible part of my obligation to persevere the union of these states, although it may cost me my life." He thought that even if it were to give up his life, he wanted to persevere the union of the states and protect all people of the United States.
Jackson was a good man. Jackson again ran for president in 1828. This time he was successful. He was running against John Quincy Adams and Henry Clay, the 2 people that he ran against in the 1824 election. Jackson had Vice President John C. Calhoun, Martin Van Buren, and Thomas Ritchie help him in his campaign. Van Buren helped Jackson take over the old Republican Party and make it into the Democrat Party. Then Jackson easily defeated Adams in the election. He also defeated Henry Clay in the 1832 election by a long run. He was reelected.
While in office, from 1828 to 1836, or you could say 1827 to 1837, Andrew Jackson accomplished many things. After the Panic of 1837, Jackson paid off the entire national debt of the U.S. That was a great accomplishment.
Yeah, it sure was. So, after that, the Indian Removal Act took place. The Indian Removal Act was to let the Indians live west of the Mississippi, so they pretty much pushed them. Jackson quoted, "This immigration should be voluntary, for it would be as cruel as unjust to compel the aboriginals to abandon the graves of their fathers and seek home in a distant land. But they should be distinctly informed that if they remain within the limits of the states, they must be subject to law. In return for their obediences as individuals, they will without doubt be protected in enjoyment of those possessions which they have improved by their industry."
After his 2 terms were up, Jackson went back to Tennessee. He was active in politics still and helped campaign for Van Buren in 1840 and helped Polk in his political career.
On June 8th, 1845, Andrew Jackson died to unspecified illness. A couple interesting facts about Jackson are that his face is on the $20 bill, and he's also on some stamps.
Well, Jimmy, this concludes our presentation on the 7th President of the U.S., Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson was a good man.
This is our Unit 4 and 5 bibliography.